On the bike?
That's fine, yeah. I only got it.
Huh?
Wedding day.
They have what?
Like your wedding day.
How are you doing? Well? Nice to meet again.
Hi, nice to meet you.
How you doing?
What do you do? Like it or not?
Hi, John.
Enterprise Centre here today on behalf of myself, Mark Daly, and Councillor Seán Crowe, and the rest of the Sinn Féin coming and the Sinn Féin party in Tallaght. It's this occasion here today is to mark a historic achievement for ourselves. It's a historic moment in the development of Sinn Féin in the area, of the opening of our local office. And I'd like to introduce Maurice here, who is the chairman of Get Tallaght Working, and is a colleague of mine on the partnership. And just to say a few words.
Yeah. Those of you who, some of you are familiar with my normal way of addressing meetings, and always when I'm introduced, people say to me, kind of hopefully, would you say a few words, Maurice? Mark has already had a certain amount of acquaintance with me, and he knows that I don't really understand the meaning of this word few. All I'd like to say is that I'm chairperson of Get Tallaght Working, which builds and manages this enterprise centre here. We're a non-political, non-party political organisation, but of course many of us, the reality is in Tallaght that many of us have particular party affiliations, which we don't need necessarily to wave around. I have to say, this is for the benefit of the hierarchy within the Sinn Féin organisation, that Sinn Féin happens to have certainly two excellent young councillors who have already proved their worth in Norway. So bear that in mind, please, when afterwards, you know, it happen ahead. What we all try to do here in our various ways is to assist the people who are deprived and disadvantaged in the community, and to try and help in our ways to create a society that is a little bit more equitable and just. I'm not going to make a political speech. All I want to say is that, Gerry, you are very welcome here as a leader of a political party, and we try and give equal treatment to leaders practically of political parties. We appreciate what Sinn Féin is doing in the social and economic sphere in the area. Very much we've watched their work over the years, and we appreciate that very much. We opened a constituency office. Well, that's a political thing in one respect, but it's not a political thing in the other respect. I'd like personally to welcome you here. I'd have to say that I might not necessarily have agreed with you in the past in all your political philosophies and all the rest of it, But I have to say this, that I very much personally admire what you personally and your colleagues are trying to do in Ireland at the present time, and that's why I'm very happy in a personal capacity to be here today and to welcome you and to welcome your colleagues. We can differ on other matters, but that's the way it is. So, nearly a few words. Thank you very much for coming here. We hope that we will see more of you. Not too many Sinn Féin councillors. We have quite a lot of activists of various kinds, of various people, familiar faces around here, who we all know, those of us who've been around for a while, have been working very hard in the community. And that's enough for me. Thanks very much.
As the older councillor, I would know many of them. You know, I am a man of few words. I would prefer to be known as a person that, you know, for his hard work. And I remember a number of years ago, people were talking about Christy Bull, hardest working councillor in Dublin Corporation. And Christy would be a great friend of mine, colleague of mine down through the years. And what I try to do is try to replicate the work that Christy has been doing. And Maurice was saying, you know, 2 young councillors. Well, I can assure you, in the last 12 months I've got older. But well, that's only natural. But no, today's reception, I think it was important. I wanted to invite a lot more people, and I realised a lot of people working now, and that was the idea between 1 and 2 to try and invite you along. As I say, I know many of you from working within your own particular organisations and so on. Maurice said about the whole area of disadvantage, and clearly it's been recognised that out of the 15 greater areas of Tallaght, 7 of those are deemed as disadvantaged areas, and many of the areas that we've been active in down through the years is those disadvantaged areas. But it's not true to say that we haven't moved out to the other areas as well. And since myself and Mark have been elected, we've been trying to represent the views of everyone throughout the greater Tallaght area. And indeed, as the representative of Dublin South West, I go much broader than that into Green Hills and the other areas and Temple Oak and so on. I think it's a very important day today. It's an important day for me in that we are putting on the map our commitment that we made at the last election, that we want to serve the people of this area. And that's why the office is open at full time. Now, since the election, I have worked on a voluntary basis, on a full-time basis within the council. I've no doubt that the work is going to quadruple now with the new office there. But we see that as the role of Sinn Féin. I don't want to get into the whole politics of what we're about and so on. Many of you know that. I think you know that we're sincere in what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring about positive change for the people we represent. Gerry Adams was talking earlier on this morning that none of us joined this organisation for a career, and it's clear I didn't get involved in a career, you know, on the basis that this was going to be my career for the rest of my life. This work that I got involved in took over my life, and literally, you know, I work for Sinn Féin 24 hours a day, and literally, you know, my partner's not here today. But she's gone back to work. She has kept me going over the last 10 years, 12 years. I'm a kept man in that sense, you know. But that, in regards, you know, because I wanted to work full time for the party I represent. I think it's the fastest growing party on the island of Ireland. We have young people joining day in, day out. Young people join not for a career or not to get a job or, you know, advance themselves. They join for idealistic reasons, and increasingly young people are still doing that. Many of you here today are working in your own communities, and I realise all the problems that you actually have within your communities in regards to funding and so on. And we would like to see ourselves as a vehicle for bringing positive change in your community. And I welcome you here today, and I'll just hand over to Sinn Féin President Gerry. Thank you.
Well, it is an important day, as both Mark and Seán have said. It is an important day in terms of the development and the consolidation and the delivery by Sinn Féin of commitments made by us. And you know, all politics are local. last evening, Eamon and I were in County Gerry and Strabane, in Dungannon, and we'd be in Hill, a wee village just 10 miles the other side of the border, at 7:30 or so this evening. And Tallaght is exactly the same as those places, apart from the presence in some of them of a very obvious British military infrastructure and a British army presence. And what I have come to sort of try and get a sense of in terms of my job, working with people like yourselves, is that it isn't worth it just for personal power or for, you know, the notion of party politics. It isn't actually worth it. You have lots of things you can do with your life. You know, I mean, why should I drive to here this morning on an ego trip or a power trip? Well, it isn't about that. It's about trying to use your ability and whatever influence you have to create the conditions in which people can be empowered, to create the conditions in which people can be emancipated. And those who work in the community sector and in the voluntary sector deserve huge thanks from the rest of us. People who work all the time. When some of the kids that were down there at the treatment centre stopped me coming out of the office and asked for autographs. And one of them said, "Put Kevin R.I.P." I didn't tweet. And then another one, and then a third one. And I just realised that they were obviously their friends. Now, that is a disgrace. And those of you who do work trying to reverse that and stop that and stamp that out are to be commended and helped and resourced in terms of that. I'm a Republican, and it isn't such a big deal. I have been in and out of prison a few times and up and down and messed about a wee bit on the side of it all. And I genuinely believe that if we got the British government to end its claim on the North now and to end partition now, well, that would be huge for us as a people. Because I think our psychic is affected by centuries of colonisation. Well, that would be huge. It wouldn't be worth it if there were still kids like that in Tallaght. Wouldn't be worth it if there were still young people on the Shankill Road or on the Bogside or across McGlen who weren't having a possibility of doing whatever they wanted with their lives. Or if old people were being terrorised, couldn't get hospital treatment, mothers or women were disadvantaged the way they are at the moment. So I think what Sinn Féin has to do is to be very, very open to advice, to be very, very open to not getting carried away with themselves, to working alongside others and trying to create the conditions for social and economic change as well as for political change on this island. And I first came here when I came out of Lancashire in 1977, and I first came here at that time, long, long time ago, and there were kids with heroin needles. You can see that there's been a change. Even the centre is a sign of change. So what we want to do, clearly in electoral terms, is to get Seán Crowe elected, but it isn't just about that. I mean, you've already got TDs. No, it isn't just about that. It's about trying to make sure that the controversy at the moment and the scandals and the crisis and the lack of confidence that there is in politics and in, I suppose, that powerful end of society doesn't allow for a further corrosion and subversion of people's way of life. I think it's crucially important that people who are annoyed about brown envelope culture, people who are annoyed at the collusion between the big banks, the business sector, or some parts of it, and some politicians, should not allow that to put them off. That there's huge change needed. And it's also my view that what you're seeing now is the coming home to roost of what was set in place perhaps 70 years ago. because when the British were moved out of this part of the island as a result of the treaty, the elites didn't change. You know, the revolution, if you like, was aborted, was stopped. So we're in new, challenging times. There's a peace process in the north. It's hugely difficult to keep it going, to deal with all the conflicting problems. But it proves that things don't have to remain the same. And if I have a message to people here, it's to thank you. I want to thank Maurice for his very gracious welcome. I want to thank you all for coming here. So my first thing is to thank you for the work that you do here on behalf of people within your own community. And I think if we can just network and mesh all of that, then we will put in place an unstoppable tide to change politics in this island forever. Forever. And then you will have a situation where the Celtic Tiger will mean something in the areas where it needs to mean something, the deprived, disadvantaged areas. So Sinead, Níl, Alan Ra, the Ra, a Gomsa, ach Mawes a Hord Steepsha, Ta Alan Ober the Yanu Egar Party, Egan Party Sinn Féin, Ta Alan Ober the Yanu Ogivsha Foster. I just want to say that apart from, you know, having a very acute sense of being part of a campaigning community in my own constituency, that I feel entirely at home here in this area. Well done for the work that you're doing, and keep it up, and don't let them put you down or get you down. Keep it up, keep moving forward.
Loads of sandwiches and stuff up there, so come and have something to eat.
That's what he said. I'm just saying this. I'm actually saying your rebook.
Thanks very much. There was somebody actually up in your autograph there, but she's just after going. Give me a piece of paper I want.
There you are. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Give me your autograph. Hello, Mary Crowe here. The managers' meeting is due to start at 2:15. Would you ask them if they'll start at 2:15?
Thanks very much for coming. Thanks. See you, Gerry. Thanks for coming out. Look.
Oh, we have you anyway now. No point around the hide now.